What's going on, Collectibles friends? We are back again, another Collectibles Dad video. It has been a minute. It's been a busy last week, but we are back. I've been out of town. Actually, I did some content out of town in Atlanta for a card show, a trading card show, and I left my tripod. So I'm doing this balancing act thing with my phone, trying to make it work. Thanks very much for visiting today. If you like what you hear, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're creeping up to 1,000 subscribers on the channel.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
And appreciate all your support. Today we're going to talk about some new phenomenon that has decided to happen in the comic book content creation space. It's something that's already happened in other collectible spaces and then just other markets in general, in other content, and it's somewhat of a like call out content. Is that what it is? Something like that. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be negatively calling somebody out. I like to do that as kind of a trick on some of these videos, almost like a reaction video where they think I'm going to come in hard on someone and disagree. And I actually might disagree a little bit, but I do agree with a lot of it. Today, we're going to tackle StickyGoose comics. And this guy is interesting because I've looked back at some of his old videos, and I think with content creation in general, it takes a little bit of time to find your voice and also just figure out what type of content you're going to put out, and it can adapt at any given time. I think the one thing that he does well here is that he recognizes the fact that on YouTube, it's all about entertainment, number one. So informational stuff, being able to provide great information, that's also very important, but people are tuning into a personality. They want to see it. They want to see entertainment. And I'm not sitting here saying I'm some amazing entertainer. All I'm saying is that people want to be entertained. Why do people watch reality TV shows? They don't watch them because they think the Kardashians are the smartest people on earth providing incredible information that they can take in. They are watching it because it is a disaster half the time. They're watching it for the drama or whatever. And so StickyGoose has jumped on the back of this comic book drama train, and I am all in for it. So recently he's had videos where it's like, I went to a card show and the card show promoter threw me out, and here's a recording of the voice. Like, it's all sorts of dramatic stuff, which I can appreciate. The recent one, though, that I can actually relate to here, that I have similar feelings on as well with him, is Comic Tom 101, and it was a video that Comic Tom had put out kind of talking about market manipulation. Did I manipulate the price of this particular book or whatever? They do their top 10, what's going up type videos. These are great videos as far as production goes. One thing I like about Comic Tom's content is they do provide some background on the books and this sort of thing. So they're not just providing pricing, but they do tell you a little bit about the story and why they think it might be in the top 10 or whatever. I do like that part. But the parts I don't like that these guys sometimes do is stuff that sounds like this. Frank, that means you run the clip. Frank, play the clip.
Over $1 million in product. It was the #1 seller. Well, gang, the only problem is it will sell out so fast.
The old Don West Home Shopping Network going back to the 90s. Fleer trading cards. Man, this guy was an absolute legend. Now, back then, we didn't realize how much of a legend he was. I was like 10 years old when Don West started out in the early 90s. But man, this guy was all personality, and it was, get these sets before it's too late, and we'll throw in this and that and whatever. And it was highly entertaining. It was kind of back in the 90s. Look, a lot of people were just ordering stuff with their phone. It was very popular back then. And Don West, an absolute legend, rest in peace. He has since passed away here over the last few years. I believe I have that right. But the guy is an absolute hobby legend. Even if you think that he was, a used car salesman or sounded like one or whatever. But sometimes I hear comic book creators that are talking about top 5 lists or top 10 lists, and the second I hear, you got to get in on this before it's too late, especially, and I've talked about this before, when we're going through the largest comic book and collectibles grading boom of all time, meaning graded supply is going like this. Look, if you're collecting, pre-war vintage baseball cards, or you're collecting golden age books, we can have a different conversation about that. But the modern stuff, the ultra modern stuff, the Bronze Age comics, a big one, of course, is Hulk 181, Wolverine #1, or a couple targets that I've talked about here, New Mutants 98. New Mutants? Can I talk? New Mutants 98, as if that is some sort of a rare book. There's probably going to be 1 million 9/8 when they're all said and done. Not 1 million, but that census is not done. Let's say that.
I wanna live forever.
So StickyGoose came a little hard at Comic Tom 101 here in the last video, just talking about it. And again, I don't think it's a bad idea to have some contradicting voices out there. It's good to debate these things out. We went through a highly speculative environment over what, 2019 to 20, actually you go back in time a little bit. For comic books, I would say really heated up 2016, 17, 18. But I got back into the overall collectibles hobby in 2018. And I just remember, you know, with shows and movies coming out, a lot of spec, even going back 5 years. We're now in a different world now where Marvel and DC kind of falling apart as far as their content goes. It's not Avengers Endgame anymore, where everyone's just absolutely pumped to get to the next Marvel movie. It's kind of saturated, maybe a lot saturated. And then we also have the fact that they're just not putting out really great product. You know, so not only are they putting out too much, but also the stories are kind of blah, and people are just kind of tired of it. Maybe they're just not into it. It's not the same sort of excitement that we had going back a few years ago. Spec Money is still very much out there, no doubt about that. But what have we seen? Look, the economy's tightened up here over the last 12, 18 months. Comic book prices have shot downward. A lot of the spec money has moved out of comic books, key comic books, and it's moved into high yield savings accounts. When you can get 5 to 6% out of your money market account without really any risk, why are you buying comic books? And that's basically what people have done, I think, a lot of in the last 12 to 18 months. Not to say that they're not still speculating on stuff, sure. And not to say that prices aren't going to go back up or any of that. You know, we don't know what's going to happen, but spec has slowed for a variety of different reasons, and probably for good reasons, because it was overheated. I think we can all agree on that going back a year or two. And so I like the fact that StickyGoose is coming in with some of the dramatics, because if we only have the get this book now before it's too late type of content, you know, that's not really good. That's going to be people just blowing more money. You know, a lot of people got hammered here over the last couple of years, and we don't really need more of that. We probably need a little bit of restraint, maybe a little bit of like, I like this book, but you know, you might want to watch this or that or whatever. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of balance out of it. Whereas they're talking about, hey, it's a hot book. Here's some of the things I'm not crazy about, but then here's a couple of reasons why I think it might have some good long-term value, whatever, as opposed to just kind of the usual stuff. And reporting on huge sales for, you know, Batman 1 or high grade, Amazing Fantasy 15, that's not a gauge of the overall comic book market. It's just not. That's big money folks fighting over very scarce high grade Silver Age or Golden Age keys. That does not mean anything for New Mutants 98. I can't say mutants. New Mutants 98, Wolverine 1. It doesn't have any impact on those books whatsoever. That's a completely separate market. Those books are their own individual market. You could argue that every single comic book title is its own individual market. And so I like this. StickyGoose coming in hot. I hope that he keeps it going, and frankly, I hope that there's more that kind of follow this path. It's okay to debate. But just because a lot of the comic book content creators are also dealers, or also shop owners, they've got reasons to really try to press and push, like, buy these books. It's okay to have some balance out there. One of them is called Future Past Vintage Collectables. Excellent channel where these guys, they talk about pricing, then they talk about how crazy this book was, or that book was. They give a little history lesson. I used to buy this book 10 years ago for way less, this or that, whatever. But they are dealers. They buy collections. That's what they do for a living. But they're also just real. They're really real. They're not coming out here to say like, oh man, to the moon and rocket ships everywhere. And I really appreciate that. So Future Past Vintage Collectables. I'll put a link to their channel down below, as well as StickyGoose, because I like it. Keep bringing some of the dramatics. It's entertaining, and I think what a lot of people are starting to realize, whether you're a comic book creator or a anything creator, it's all about entertainment. We don't have to agree on everything. It's okay for us to debate, and that's what this is. All right, guys, stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.